Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about something that's been whispered in bedrooms, joked about in locker rooms, and misunderstood in relationships for decades. Only the tip. Now, before you smirk or scroll away, I want you to pause for a moment. This isn't just about the obvious. This is about a hidden truth in intimacy, a truth that many men overlook, and yet, for so many women, it's the very thing that makes them feel more connected, more desired, more willing to surrender to the moment. See, in love and in sex, we're taught to chase the climax, the grand finale, the big performance. But what if I told you that for her, the magic often happens before the grand gesture? That the reason she melts, the reason she whispers your name in that soft, shaky voice, might be because you didn't rush to give it all, but instead lingered, teased, and savored. Because here's the secret, women don't just crave penetration, they crave presence. They want to feel you there, hovering at the edge, making her body beg for more. And when you master that, you're not just a lover, you're unforgettable. So today we're pulling back the curtain. This is not about tricks. This is about understanding her deepest desires, and why only the tip might just be the most powerful move you ever make. We've already opened the door to a conversation that most couples never dare to have. And I can almost hear some of you chuckle under your breath, maybe even shift in your seat a little. Because this phrase, only the tip, it's playful, it's provocative, but it's also layered with meaning. You see, intimacy is not simply a matter of bodies meeting, it is an entire language. And like any language, there are dialects, accents, pauses, silences, and rhythms. Yet too often, we rush to speak it like a tourist trying to get to the end of a sentence. Clumsy hurry, just to arrive. And in that rush, we miss the poetry. For many men, there's a conditioning that starts young. Movies, locker room stories, adult content. They teach you that sex is about more, faster, harder, longer. That the goal is always to give everything, to push forward until there's nothing left. And yet, I want you to imagine this: what if less, at the right moment, was infinitely more? For her, there is a kind of electricity that comes from restraint. The soft press, the almost but not quite. The sensation of you holding back when she knows you could give in. It's a dance of desire where you are both leading and following, guiding her toward a deeper emotional and physical surrender. And here's the paradox. It's not about denying her pleasure. It's about making her want it so badly that when it comes, it floods her entire body with a memory she can't forget. Think about it. In so many aspects of life, anticipation is the sweetest part. The moment before a kiss, when your faces are just inches apart. The second before you open a gift, when your heart is racing with curiosity. We humans are wired to feel excitement in the build-up. And intimacy is no different. When you give her only the tip, not just physically, but emotionally, you are telling her, I am here, I am in control, and I'm going to make this last. Now, this is where I need you to truly hear me. This is not about teasing her in a way that leaves her frustrated or unsatisfied. That's the mistake too many men make when they hear advice like this. They confuse presence with procrastination. They think holding back means doing nothing, but the art is in giving just enough to awaken her senses without flooding them all at once. In a woman's body, arousal is not a switch, it's a wave. And if you slam into that wave before it's had time to rise, you don't just cut her pleasure short. You rob her of the depth of connection she's capable of feeling. But if you can stay at the edge with her, if you can let the wave rise naturally, then when it finally breaks, you're not just having sex. You're creating an experience that touches every cell in her being. I want you to picture this with someone you deeply care for. You're close, her breath is warm on your neck, you can feel her pulse through her skin. Instead of rushing, you hover there. You let your body speak in whispers rather than shouts. You give her moments of near completion and then pull back, not to torture, but to remind her that pleasure can be savored, not swallowed whole. The irony is that in doing this, you also change your own experience. You slow your breathing, you start noticing details you often miss. The way her eyelids flutter when she feels you, the way her hips subtly shift, inviting you deeper. The sound she makes that isn't quite a moan, but is her body's way of saying, don't you dare stop. And here's something that most men overlook for a woman. Sex is rarely just about the body. It's about the mind, the emotion, the story she's telling herself while she's with you. When you master the art of restraint, you're not just touching her physically, you're writing that story in her head. You're telling her, I want you, but I also respect the beauty of this moment too much to rush it. That, my friends, is intoxicating. So where does this begin for you? Not in the bedroom. It starts in how you approach her hours before you ever touch her. It starts in the way you let her feel seen when you're sitting across from her at dinner, in the way you reach for her hand without looking at your phone. In the way you hold her gaze a second longer than usual, making her wonder what's behind that smile. Only the tip isn't just a move. It's an entire mindset of slowing down and creating space for her desire to bloom. And here's a truth that's difficult for some men to accept. Women often don't crave the act itself as much as they crave how it makes them feel about themselves. She doesn't just want your body inside hers. She wants to feel like the center of your universe in that moment. She wants to feel desired in a way that's almost unbearable. where the tension between what she wants and what she's getting drives her wild. When you give her only the tip, you're creating that tension. You're not giving her less, you're giving her more of what actually matters. You're reminding her that she's worth the wait, worth the build-up, worth the energy it takes to hold back your own release, just to see her lose herself in pleasure. And that's where the beauty lies, in this careful balance between giving and holding, between action and stillness. You're not just in her body, you're in her mind, in her heart, in that space where she starts to trust you enough to let go. When you slow down like this, something remarkable starts to happen. Her body begins to respond in ways that no amount of hurried passion could ever achieve. You'll see it in her breathing, at first steady, then subtly changing, as if her lungs are syncing with yours. You'll notice how her skin grows warmer, how the small muscles in her thighs tighten, how her hand finds its way to your back or your neck, as though she's trying to anchor herself to the moment. You see, only the tip isn't just a physical position. It's a signal to her nervous system that says you're safe. You can let go. And when a woman feels safe emotionally, physically, mentally, that's when she can surrender to the kind of pleasure that feels like it could break her open. Men often underestimate this safety. They imagine that arousal is purely physical, that if she's attracted, she's ready. But the female mind works differently. Her body is a gatekeeper, and that gate opens wider when she feels cared for, when she feels you are tuned into her every reaction. Only the tip tells her you're not here to conquer, you're here to connect, and connection is an aphrodisiac more powerful than anything else. Imagine this. You're right there at the edge, your body's brushing in that delicate way that's both maddening and intoxicating. She feels your restraint, your decision not to rush. And that restraint becomes a kind of dominance, not the aggressive kind that bulldozes her, but the steady, grounded kind that says, I'm in control of myself, which means I can be fully present with you. In that presence, her own mind starts to shift. She's no longer worrying about how she looks, about the little self-conscious thoughts that can pull her out of the moment. Instead, she's focused entirely on feeling. And that, gentlemen, is where the magic lives. Now, think about the world we live in. Everything is fast. Instant coffee, one-click orders, 15-second videos. We are conditioned to believe that faster is better. But intimacy laughs at that rule. In intimacy, faster often means less depth, less connection, less memory of what just happened. And if you want to be unforgettable, you have to play by a different set of rules. When you give her only part of yourself at first, you force her to slow down with you. It's almost like walking into a warm bath. You don't plunge straight in. You ease yourself into the water, letting your body adjust, letting the warmth creep into your bones. That gradual immersion builds an awareness of every sensation. And here's where it becomes something truly potent. By staying at the edge, you awaken not just her physical senses, but her imagination. She starts anticipating, wondering. Her mind begins filling in the blanks. What will it feel like when he finally goes deeper? How long is he going to make me wait? Is he feeling this as intensely as I am? These questions, these silent conversations in her head, heighten her arousal in ways you can't achieve by rushing. Because here's the secret: the mind is the most powerful erogenous zone a woman has. You can be the most skilled lover in the world, but if you don't touch her mind, if you don't make her think about you long after the moment is over, you'll just be another body she's been with. And only the tip, done with intention, is a masterstroke for the mind. But there's another layer to this, one that many men overlook because they're focused only on her pleasure in the moment. This approach builds long-term desire. When you show her that you can slow down, when you demonstrate that you value the journey as much as the destination, you're teaching her that every encounter with you is worth remembering, that she never quite knows how it's going to go, only that it will leave her wanting more. And that wanting, that is the glue that keeps attraction alive long after the first kiss, the first night, the first rush of newness has faded. Sometimes, she doesn't even consciously register why she's thinking about you the next day or why she gets goosebumps when your name pops up on her phone, but her body remembers. Her body remembers the way you hovered at the edge, how you made her ache in the most delicious way, how you didn't just give her everything at once, but built it slowly until she was aching for more. And let me tell you something important. This doesn't just serve her, it serves you. Because in that slowness, in that restraint, you begin to notice details you would otherwise miss. You become more in tune with her reactions. You learn her language, the way her breathing changes when she's close, the way her fingers tighten when she's craving you, the way her eyes half close when you've hit the right note. The man who knows these details isn't just a good lover, he's a dangerous one. Dangerous because he understands that sex isn't a race, it's a conversation. Dangerous because he can make her lose her breath without even moving an inch further. Dangerous because she will remember him not for the size of the act, but for the depth of the experience. And when you approach intimacy this way, you're also shifting something deep within yourself. You're no longer measuring your worth by how fast you can bring her to climax or how long you can last. Instead, you're measuring it by the depth of connection you create, by the way she looks at you afterward. That slightly dazed, blissful look that says, what just happened to me? Because here's the truth. If you can take her to that place without even giving her all of you at once, imagine what happens when you finally do. There's something you need to understand about desire. It lingers. It's not just in the moment, not just during the heat of touch or the rush of breath. It stays with her afterward, woven into the quiet moments when she's alone, when she's thinking about nothing in particular, and suddenly, there you are in her mind again. This is the power of leaving her wanting more. And only the tip, done with intention and care, is a masterclass in planting that seed. Because you didn't just give her pleasure, you gave her a memory with unfinished edges, one that her body keeps replaying like a song stuck on loop. You see, most men think the measure of great intimacy is exhaustion, that she should be lying there completely spent with nothing left in the tank. But the truth is, the moments she can't stop thinking about aren't always the ones where she's satisfied into silence. They're often the ones where she was so close, so utterly caught in the wave, and you, with a steady hand and knowing smile, held her at that edge just long enough to make her feel like she might lose her mind. And that feeling doesn't fade easily. It's addictive. It makes her want to come back to you, not just for release, but for the experience of being taken there again. That's the thing. Climax is a destination, but desire is a journey. And journeys, when done right, are the parts we remember most vividly. Think about it: the first bite of a perfectly cooked meal, the moment the curtain rises before a long-awaited performance, the pause before your favorite song's chorus drops. That anticipation, that suspended moment, is what sends shivers through your body. Now imagine creating that same feeling for her, not once, but over and over again in the same encounter. You're teaching her body that with you, every second is worth savoring. But here's the part that makes this truly powerful. By not giving everything all at once, you create space for emotion to deepen. It's not just skin against skin. It's trust building, breath sensing, hearts aligning. She starts to feel that you're not just inside her body. You're inside her head, inside her emotional world. And when a woman feels emotionally aroused alongside physical arousal, her attachment to you grows stronger. This is why I often say seduction doesn't end when you leave the bedroom. In fact, some of the most potent seduction happens afterward, in the way you hold her, in the way you look at her when she catches her breath, in the way you speak to her as though you're still inside that intimate bubble you both created. The man who understands this knows that intimacy isn't measured in minutes, but in echoes, how long it echoes after the moment ends. Now, let's address something that might be on your mind. You may be thinking, won't she get frustrated if I keep holding back? The answer is not if it's done with skill and empathy. Frustration happens when restraint feels like rejection or disinterest. But when it's clear that you're fully engaged, fully present, and absolutely invested in her pleasure, that restraint becomes foreplay of the highest order. It becomes part of the dance, a dance she's willing to follow because she trusts the music will eventually swell to the moment she's craving. It's also worth noting that this isn't just about her pleasure. This approach can transform your own experience as a man. You start to realize how much more satisfying it is to build something slowly, to be in complete control of your body instead of being at the mercy of it. You stop treating intimacy as a race to the finish line and start treating it as a canvas where every brushstroke matters, where every pause has purpose. And here's another truth. Women talk, not in the shallow, gossiping way that men sometimes imagine, but in the way they share experiences that move them, that awaken something in them. When you master this, she's not just remembering you privately, she's telling her closest friend, you have no idea what it's like. He doesn't just rush. He makes me feel things I didn't know I could feel. That kind of reputation, it's worth more than any physical attribute you think you need to impress her. You're not just giving her sex. You're giving her something to daydream about at work, something that makes her heart skip when she thinks about the last time you were together. You're giving her a reason to miss you before you've even left the room. And when she misses you like that, you have something far more powerful than attraction. You have gravity. Now, I want you to really let this next thought sink in. The most powerful lovers are not the ones who give the most. They are the ones who give with the deepest intention. The ones who understand that pleasure is a spectrum and that holding her just shy of the peak can sometimes be more intoxicating than taking her over it. Because here's the secret most men will never learn. When you finally do give her all of you after holding back, when you finally cross that edge together, it's not just better, it's transcendent. It's not just a physical release, it's an emotional surrender. She's not just reacting to the sensation, she's reacting to everything you built leading up to it. Every look, every touch, every moment you let her want you just a little bit more. That is why she loves it. That is why it stays with her. That is why when she's lying in bed weeks later, she'll close her eyes and feel her body respond to the memory of you. Because you didn't just touch her once. You touched her in a way that left an imprint. There's a layer of intimacy that most people never touch, not because it's hidden, but because it requires a level of awareness, patience, and presence that many simply never learn. And yet, once you experience it, you realize it's not just about pleasure, it's about rewiring the way desire works between you and her. When you give her only the tip, when you stay at the edge of giving her everything, you're doing something that goes far beyond the physical. You're speaking directly to her subconscious. You're triggering the part of her that equates restraint with control and control with safety. Here's what I mean: in a world where women are constantly navigating unwanted attention, unwanted pressure, and rushed intimacy, restraint becomes a rare and intoxicating gift. It says, I am here with you, not just for what I want, but for what we can create together. It communicates patience, which in turn builds trust. And trust is the gateway to the kind of openness that allows her to explore pleasure without fear. This is why, when done with genuine presence, this approach doesn't feel like withholding. It feels like leadership, like you're guiding her somewhere step by step, and she can let go because she trusts that you're taking her somewhere worth going. And here's the irony: what might look on the surface like less effort is actually the opposite. To master this, you need focus. You need to be so in tune with her that you can read her without her saying a word. You need to know when she's close, when she's drifting, when her mind is about to escape the moment. And you need to pull her right back in, not with force, but with subtle, deliberate touch. This is dominance, but not the cartoon version that's loud, aggressive, and obvious. This is quiet dominance. The kind that says, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I don't need to prove it by rushing. The kind that makes her melt, because she realizes you're not performing for your own ego. You're orchestrating an experience for her. You see, when a man rushes, it's often because he's afraid of losing the moment, afraid he won't last, afraid he won't get another chance. But when you slow down, when you can give her just a fraction and hold it there, you're showing her you have nothing to fear. You have time. You're not at the mercy of the moment. The moment is at the mercy of you. That calm confidence is magnetic. It's the same quality that makes a great leader in any arena, the ability to hold steady under pressure, to move with purpose rather than panic. And in the bedroom, that energy is pure fuel for her desire. But there's more. This method plays into a fundamental truth about attraction. We value what we have to wait for. The mind starts building stories, weaving fantasies, filling in the blanks with details more vivid than reality itself. When you give her everything instantly, you rob her of the chance to imagine, to anticipate, to hunger. But when you linger at the edge, you give her space to want, and wanting is the lifeblood of long-term desire. Think about the relationships that fade. They don't lose love overnight, they lose want. The craving dulls, the spark fades, the mystery disappears. But if you can keep her in that delicious space where she's always curious what you'll do next, you keep the spark alive without forcing it. And let's be clear, this isn't just for new lovers. In fact, for couples who've been together for years, this is a lifeline, because over time routines settle in, bodies learn each other's shortcuts. The spark can get lost in efficiency. Only the tip disrupts that efficiency. It breaks the pattern. It forces you both to remember that intimacy isn't a habit, it's a creation. Now, I can almost hear some men thinking, but won't she think I'm holding back because I'm not as attracted to her? The answer is no, not if you communicate with your body, your eyes, your breath, that every ounce of your attention is locked on her. Restraint without connection can feel cold, but restraint with deep, burning presence feels like the most intimate thing in the world. When you look at her in that moment, when your eyes lock and she sees that you are not distracted, not detached, but absolutely absorbed in her, that's when she realizes what's happening. That's when she feels the power of it. That's when she understands he could take everything right now, but he's choosing to keep me here wanting. And here's the beautiful twist. That wanting doesn't just live in the moment. It seeps into the way she thinks about you outside the bedroom. It changes the way she responds to your touch when you pass by in the kitchen, the way she leans into you when you sit next to her. Because her body remembers. Every time she sees you, it's reminded of how you made her feel. Not just satisfied, but cherished, teased, kept in that sweet tension where she wanted more. This is why restraint is not a lack of action. It's the most deliberate action you can take. It's why lovers who understand this don't just give pleasure, they create addiction. Not the unhealthy kind, but the kind where she can't quite explain why she keeps thinking about you, why she keeps replaying certain moments, why even the simplest touch from you makes her shiver. And gentlemen, that's not an accident. That's design, that's artistry, that's you stepping out of the role of performer and into the role of creator. You're no longer just a participant in intimacy. You're shaping it, sculpting it, turning it into something she will remember long after the lights are out. At this point, you understand that only the tip is not a trick, not a gimmick, not some cheap party move in the bedroom. It's an entire philosophy, one that says intimacy is not about racing to the end, but about savoring the middle, about creating a space where two people can lose themselves, not in the chaos of urgency, but in the richness of anticipation. Because here's the truth: women remember how you made them feel far longer than they remember exactly what you did. They'll forget positions, they'll forget sequences, they'll forget whether the music was playing or the lights were dimmed. But they will remember the way you looked at them when they were trembling under your touch. They will remember the exact way your breath felt on their neck when you paused, holding them there at the edge. They will remember that you didn't rush, that you took your time, that you made the night feel like it belonged entirely to them. And what's remarkable is how this translates beyond the bedroom. When she feels this kind of presence from you in intimacy, she starts to crave it in other moments too. She wants you next to her at dinner, listening with the same undivided attention. She wants you in the car, holding her hand not out of habit, but because you're genuinely connected. This is why restraint is so powerful. It doesn't just ignite her physically, it weaves you into the fabric of her emotional life. In the world of instant everything, you become the man who slows her down. The man who reminds her that pleasure is not something to be consumed, it's something to be cultivated. And when you do this consistently, you stop being just her lover. You become her addiction. Now let's be clear, addiction in this sense isn't about control or possession. It's about creating experiences so rich, so textured, so layered that she naturally wants more. She wants to come back to the well, not because she's thirsty, but because the water tastes better than anything else she's ever had. And yes, this takes effort. It takes discipline to hold back when every nerve in your body is screaming to give in. It takes focus to notice her subtle cues, the way she inhales sharply when you shift slightly, the way her nails press a little harder into your skin, the way her lips part in that wordless invitation. It takes a willingness to be uncomfortable in your own restraint, to ride the wave alongside her instead of rushing to the shore. But here's the reward when you finally let go, when you move from only the tip to giving her all of you. The release is not just physical, it's monumental, it feels earned, it feels inevitable, it feels like the climax of a story you've both been writing together in whispers and touches and glances. And that is the kind of intimacy people chase their whole lives. You may think she wants more intensity, more frequency, more performance, but often what she's really craving is more depth. And depth isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most with complete presence. You could give her the longest night of her life, but if you're not there, truly there, she'll feel it. And you could give her only a fraction, only the tip, but if you're deeply there, she'll remember it forever. It's a paradox, but one worth mastering. Because when she knows you're capable of this, when she knows you can take her to the edge and keep her there in that exquisite space, she starts to trust that every moment with you will be worth the wait. And that trust is what keeps desire alive, even years into a relationship. So the next time you're together, I want you to try this. Not as a trick, not as a box to check, but as an experiment in presence. Slow down. Breathe with her, watch her, listen to her body more than you listen to your own impulse. Give her just enough to light the fire, then keep it burning without throwing it into a full blaze right away. Let her hunger grow, let it consume her, let it become the thing she can't stop thinking about. And when you finally give her all of you, make it clear that you weren't holding back because you didn't want her. You were holding back because she matters too much to rush. Because what you're creating together isn't disposable pleasure, it's unforgettable connection. This is the art. This is why she loves it. Not because it's only the tip, but because in that restraint, she feels something she doesn't feel often enough. A lover who is as invested in her mind and heart as he is in her body. A lover who understands that pleasure is sweeter when it's savored. A lover who knows that sometimes the most powerful intimacy comes not from giving everything at once, but from making her want it so deeply that when it finally comes, it changes her. So, my friends, take this with you. Practice it, live it. Let it transform the way you connect, the way you touch, the way you love. And remember, in a world obsessed with the destination, you will always stand out when you make the journey unforgettable. If you felt something stir while listening to this, if it made you think differently about how you approach intimacy, then I invite you to share your thoughts below, because these are the conversations that make us better lovers, better partners, better humans. Until next time, be present, be patient, and never underestimate the power of giving her only the tip.